Friends, it is an honor to be joining you for this special event for the 9th of Av as we commemorate the destruction of both temples in Jerusalem and many other tragedies that have happened in the Jewish history. Not to mention, just nearly 3 years ago, the October 7th massacre that took place here in Israel. And I just wanted to say that for me, the issue of the Temple Mount, and not to mention Jewish memory, the memory of what they did to us, as the Prime Minister Netanyahu announced to the people of Israel, the weekly Torah portion, remember what Amalek did to you, which again has been taken out of proportion and taken out of its original context, which to be meaning that we're to slaughter all of the Gazans. That is, nothing could be farther from the truth. The beauty about the Jewish people is that we remember the things that have happened to us, especially the tragic things that have happened to us, because it gives us pause, it gives us question, it makes us consider, what have we done wrong? Where have we gone astray? And I would say October 7th is the modern Tisha B'Av, so to speak, awakening, the collective awakening for the Jewish people that unfortunately it took this level of a tragedy to get us to stop going on the streets and protesting because of the government, because of this, because of that, and all the different things. The tensions were very tangible here in Israel. And again, not solely because the Jewish people are not united or what have you, but actually it's, for those who are paying attention, it's from the outside influences using social media, using all kinds of campaigns to try to get us divided, which we're literally seeing in the West. But in contrast and indifferent, the Jewish people have many, many years, thousands of years, in fact, of being a people and different empires that we have lived through and so on and so forth, different periods of history. And for us, this is a very serious issue, because why are we now, after being able to return back to our homeland, the Shivat Zion, the restoration that God promised that we would be restored to the land and come back to our ancestral homeland, that we have basically a second chance of statehood. We have a second chance of building God's house in Jerusalem and basically restoring our focus and worship to God where he had commanded us to do this, which is the Temple Mount. And what I would say is that the October 7th tragedy woke us up on many different levels, but specifically when you had young soldiers that went into Gaza and found that the enemy had been propagating the issue of the Temple Mount, which they call El-Quds, or the Al-Aqsa flood. The young soldiers, basically, both young and reservists, yes, but mainly I'm thinking of the young soldiers that I saw, that I witnessed this transformation in their psyche, in their understanding of what it is we're fighting for. And it created an awakening, and it created a movement within the IDF, where we also had the temple patch that many soldiers wore, or the Mashiach patch that many of us wore. And the flag of Mashiach was on tanks and all over in Gaza as the operations were ongoing. And so what that was showing me is that there was basically a messianic awakening, a revival within the people of Israel, and a refocus, a realignment of why we are here. Why are we restored to the land? And what is our purpose? Our purpose isn't to be on the streets protesting the government, the Haredim should serve in the military or not, and so on and so on and so on. All these different divisions and political tensions that are tearing us apart. No, it is about Zion. It's about Zion. The enemy's focus was on Zion. It was to take over and conquer God's holy mountain and to proclaim their God as supreme on the holy mountain. So the young soldiers and older soldiers alike had an awakening and a refocus, a realignment, and recognizing it's about Har HaBayit. It's about our home, and our home is represented and connected to, right? When we say Zionism, for example, which is so many are trying to make into a derogatory term. Zionism, what is Zionism without Zion? Zionism means the return to Zion, not just all of Israel as the bigger picture of return to Zion, but as you get to the bullseye, it's Jerusalem, well, Judea, Samaria, right? But then Jerusalem, as you get closer into the bullseye, and then in the very heart of that is God's holy mountain, Har Zion. And many in Israel started to realize it's about Har HaBayit. It's about Zion. This is what we're fighting for. This is our cause, and we need to rally around this and not let go to this. So I would say this is one of the awakenings that we have had and the unifying factors. And for me personally, what I've seen is the temple awareness has just amplified tremendously thanks to, and not thanks to, October 7th tragedy, another tragedy on the Jewish calendar, another historic blow to the Jewish people. But as all of these blows that we have experienced as a people throughout all of history, for the over 3,000 years of just tragedy after tragedy, this is the awakening for the ultimate final days, Achit Ha'yamim, the days of the coming of Messiah, the establishing of God's kingdom in Jerusalem, and what leads up to that messianic reality is God's temple being restored. So to me, this is very encouraging and very exciting. And combined with that, not just what we're seeing on the war front and on the tragedy of October 7th, and all the different things that we've experienced currently, but I'm also excited about the latest archaeological finds that we have found in the city of David, in the Givati parking lot, by the way. For those who want to do another in-depth study on this, you can see that the latest archaeology that's being uncovered that has just been recently announced, just in time for 9th of Av. You have in the archaeological digs, they found some wooden beams from the first temple destruction period. So for the first time in years of digging in this area, have we finally gotten to the first temple period destructive layer from where we are commemorating the 9th of Av, where it all began. Can you imagine the archaeologists as they're uncovering the remains and they go through the debris, and what they find to their surprise is wooden beams that have been preserved, what they believe because of the mortar that was on the walls of the home that had been burnt down, had somehow coated the beams from the fire, from the destruction, and all that combined, creating a special protective layer to help protect these artifacts for over 2,000 years. I mean, just incredible to even fathom and realize that we have this unbelievable archaeological find right now of all times. In other words, God is giving us these breadcrumbs, if you like, both historically, both currently with the current events, to awaken his people, awaken us from our slumber, from our division, and focus on what really matters. It's about God's kingdom. It's about God establishing his peace, his shalom, his sovereignty on the earth, which we know, according to the prophets have prophesied, that one day these fast days will be days of celebration, days where we will go up to the Temple Mount, and that the nations as well will look to us and say, where are you going? And we'll be answering you saying, we're going up to Zion. And the nations say, we want to go with you as well. We want to join you, Israel. And so the calling for you and the nations, if you who are listening and you're one of the representatives of the nations, you have a special calling to join along with the Jewish people and to encourage and say, hey, I'm going up to worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm with you. Just like we see with the story of Ruth and Naomi, and how she says, I'm going to go with you. Where you go, I will go. Where you die, I will die. Your fate is my fate. That declaration of faith from the people of faith, that is what I believe is going to help us in these last days leading up to the Messianic period, where Messiah is going to come and establish God's kingdom in the earth and God's sovereignty in the earth. And there's not going to be any question about, does Israel matter? Does Jerusalem matter? Does Zion, I don't believe in Zionism. You don't have to, convince anybody of these realities. It will become a fact. God will make it an undisputed fact because it's going to be God establishing the reality for all to see. And so I'm excited by that and encouraged by that. And I want to encourage you with these words as well, as one who has had to fight through this war with my soldiers. Yes, we're battle worn. Many of us have had financial struggles. Many of us have had physical struggles. Many of us have had to struggle with PTS and other mental challenges to get to come through all this hardship that we have witnessed and seen, and the horrors of war. But God is doing something incredible. And I wanted to encourage you with that and let you know that there are people like myself who are encouraged when we see these things. We're encouraged from the past. We draw strength from the past. I had the honor and the opportunity of every time driving when I leave my home to visit with my family, when I have some time off to visit home and go back to base, to drive by the Elah Valley and to look at the fields where David slew Goliath. And as I remember the miracle that God did through this young boy who is going to become the king of Israel one day, and his declaration that, who are you to speak obscenities against God's anointed, you uncircumcised Philistine? And that was that warrior spirit of defiance against evil, defiance against those who have touched God's holy land and people through this destruction they tried to bring upon us. And we have come out from the ashes, tekuma, awakening or revival and restoration. We will rise again, not because of the Jewish people's strength, but because of what God is doing through us and will continue to do through us. So I look at the past of what God has done, and I look at the future of what God is going to do through Israel and through our imperfections. We're not a perfect people, and we struggle, and we sin, and we fail. But God is constantly working through the nation as he has promised that he will do. And I stand on that promise and am encouraged to see these little nods from heaven, so to speak, with the archaeology, with the history, and everything that we get to witness and see and draw strength from, and know that, yes, this is a time of mourning, but we need to look back and remember what Amalek did to you. Remember the evil that they did. In other words, remember that, yes, you're God's chosen and anointed, but there's pure evil in the world that is seeking out to kill and destroy you. So yes, I look back at that and say, yes, I remember what Amalek tried to do and what Amalek did to us on October 7th. And thanks to people like myself, we will stand on the watch of Israel, and we will stand guard, and we will protect God's holy land and God's people, and prevent anyone who will try to harm the plan of Hashem, of God's holy work that he wants to do through this people and through this land. And be encouraged during this 9th of Av that yes, there's a lot of evil going on in the world, but God is on the throne. He is not asleep. He does not slumber. He does not rest. He keeps his eye on this land 24/7. God bless you guys. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed rest of this week. And as we commemorate this Tisha B'Av, Shalom from Israel.